Hi everyone, hope you're all doing great. Welcome back to my channel NestArtfully, and in this video I'm going to take you through my personal cleaning routine for the kitchen. Now kitchen is one of those spaces inside the house that tends to get messy and dirty on a day-to-day basis. So this is a place that needs to be kept clean, because if you let it go then it has a compounding effect and the mess really builds up to an extent that it can feel overwhelming to get started on cleaning up the kitchen. And this is where I found some tricks that help me, and this is something that is helpful for my process. Of course, in our kitchen it's just my husband and I who cook. So if you have more people in the family who use the kitchen, or if you don't have certain products that we use in the kitchen, you might need to find the formula that works for you, but I'm sharing what works for me. Now let's get started. I'm going to take you through a few steps that I ensure so that the kitchen not just remains clean between meals but on a day-to-day basis, and that way I'm not deep cleaning the kitchen even in a month, but I'm only deep cleaning it once in maybe 3 months. So let's get started. So step number 1. I personally used to think this is counterintuitive because you know that your kitchen is going to be in a messier state once you've finished cooking. So why clean it before you get started? But this is more of a psychological trick or a hack. And what it does is that you have more energy at the start of making a meal, and you also have a time frame within which you need to finish your cooking. This means that if you start on a clean slate and you clean your kitchen prior to starting a meal, then it makes it much easier to clean up after you've finished cooking, because there are many things like creating space in your sink or in your dishwasher by removing all the washed vessels and putting away the dirty vessels that help you keep cleaning the kitchen as you cook. And this is something I found very helpful. Instead of cooking and then feeling tired and also feeling guilty when my son comes and asks me to play with him and instead I'm cleaning the stove, I can now say I'm preparing a meal, I will play with you after the meal, and then go ahead and get out of the kitchen once the meal is done. The second step is to figure out what you can clean along the process of cooking. So one of the things that we do is we cut vegetables and we peel vegetables, and everything that is waste ends up on the counter space. Now this means more cleaning. So what I do is I keep a small plate or a cup and put all the peels and waste into that cup, which I then later dump into my organic waste bin. In your case, it could even be a compost bin, and this really saves up time after the cooking process is over. So now whenever my husband is cooking in the kitchen, I let him know to do that as well, because then it makes my cleaning job much easier. We come to point number 3, which is what is the part of the kitchen that gets most dirty while cooking, and that is, for me at least, the stove top or the hob top. Now this is where all the oil splatter and spillage happens, and once this dries up it gets extremely difficult to clean. In fact, the olden stoves were easier to clean compared to the modern day hobs, because they have a lot of crevices and places for the dirt and spillage to go get trapped, and once it's dry it becomes almost impossible to get it out. So for this I have found a few products that really help me. First one is the burner protector. So I keep this in place. It's made from a material which is fire resistant, and if used correctly poses no problems at all, and it not only keeps the very burner area clean, but it spills into the rest of the hob space as well and keeps it clean. The other product that I find very useful is a splatter guard. Now you can use this on top of the vessel that you're cooking, and it definitely prevents from the mustard flying into your cabinets or the walls. The last product that you can use is also a oil-proof sticker for your backsplash area. I'm currently not using one, but this is something else I've used in the past. And now we've come to point number 4. The biggest difference that I find while cleaning the kitchen versus any other space in the house is about how greasy and sticky the dirt and mess becomes in the kitchen. Now for this I've used several chemical products in the past to wipe down the surfaces, and I've always felt that they weren't really good for my health, for my family's health, and so it took me a long time to actually try out the baking soda and vinegar hack, but it definitely works. What I do is I take a little bit of hot water and add some amount of dish soap, then vinegar and baking soda, and it foams up and becomes this really nice paste to work with. And this helps clean things like the stove top, which gets very greasy, or the backsplash behind the stove, which again gets greasy, or even the chimney grill at the top. And it definitely gets the job done in many cases faster than these chemicals do. We come to point number 5, which is I take a bucket, a small mug or bucket of hot water, and I add a little bit of clothes detergent just for the fragrance, and then I keep washing my washcloth in that, and then regularly wipe the countertop as it gets dirty, because this not only cleans up the mess as and when it is wet, but it also adds a very nice fragrance to the environment. Talking about the cleaning cloth, I also prefer to use one that is highly absorbent and also one in a dark color, because kitchen is a place where any cloth that you use tends to get stained, and you do not want to break your head over getting the stains out of those cloths, because then they tend to look very dirty and messy themselves. So a dark cloth ensures that the stains do not show up. And now we've come to point number 6, and this gave us some trouble very recently, so I definitely wanted to bring it up, and that is the stove top or the hob. If it's not been installed correctly, as it was in our case, what can happen is along the outer edges where it sits on the countertop, it can gather a lot of food particles and dirt under it, and you don't even notice it until the gunk really builds up and starts coming out, and then when you lift your hob, you're in for a very big messy surprise. So to avoid this, what we recently did was get this foam tape, which is also called a sealant tape. It's waterproof and it creates a blockage in that space between the countertop and the hob and doesn't let food particles gather inside. So this really makes a big difference. You should also look into it if you don't already have one installed. Now we've come to point number 7. The other space in the kitchen besides the stove top to get extremely dirty is of course the sink. This is because we tend to pile a lot of dirty vessels there, and what I have started doing now is to reduce putting vessels in the sink and directly just rinse off the vessels and put them inside the dishwasher. That way the sink remains clean, dry and tidy. The other thing I try to avoid is putting any solid food particles inside the sink, including items that we often foresee like our tea leaves, considering we are heavy tea drinkers and we get through a couple of cups of chai a day. What I do is I ensure I strain out the tea leaves and put them in my organic waste bin and do not let it go into the sink. The other thing that I do, of course, is use the same baking soda, vinegar, dish soap solution and wash the sink clean as well. And once in a while, this is when I'm doing deep cleaning, I use the pitambari powder, which I'm sure our mothers and maybe even our grandmothers have used in the past to polish up vessels. So the same concept applies, because most of these sinks are stainless steel sinks, and you can use that to get your sink looking really shiny and new. Another product that helps keep the sink area clean is the squeegee. As you all know, water keeps splashing around and makes the area around the sink extremely wet and dirty. So you can use the squeegee to just push in the water on a regular basis and keep it clean. And now we've come to point number 8. This is again something that's so obvious but often overlooked, and that is to try and keep the countertop area as minimal as possible and as clutter-free as possible. So this also means putting away your tools and your gadgets that you don't use on a meal-on-meal basis inside the kitchen. So things like our mixer grinder and kettle or toaster get stored away inside the cabinets and are only taken out when we are to use them, and then again promptly put back inside. So this frees up a lot of countertop space for your other activities. Now I only try to put out items that hold both functional as well as aesthetic value on my countertop, such as this beautiful cutlery holder from Casa Decor. They've been kind enough to send me these products. This particular piece can be used in many ways across different parts of the home, but I've used it here as a cutlery stand to hold my spoons and forks, because earlier I just had them in an old cup, and this definitely looks way better. Also this beautiful tissue napkin stand, because once again this is an item that I use often in the kitchen, and having it displayed in such an aesthetic manner brings me great joy. So both these products are sustainably made, they are handcrafted, and the pricing is extremely good. So do check them out on the website, and don't forget to use the discount coupon they have given exclusively for NestArtfully viewers, which I've shared in the description box. Now we've come to point number 9, and that is to ensure that the space beneath the sink is also kept clean and regularly checked for things like water leakage, which leads into fungus and mold formations. So in our house, the place beneath the sink is a cabinet, of course, and the doors have a space for the organic waste bin and also a space where we can store our cleaning products. Besides that, on the floor I've just stored some of my other gardening products like the cocoa peat, which I needed a dry undisturbed space for. Now I regularly check the grout around the sink to ensure that water leakage is not happening there, or from the plumbing under the sink there's no water leakage. And I also once in a while apply a disinfectant like the Dettol disinfectant spray on the area where our organic waste bin is, because this place tends to get dirty and gunky. And now we've come to point number 10, the floor of the kitchen. And obviously this is for post cooking cleaning, and mainly want to focus on the aspect of below the modular kitchen. So typically a lot of homes either have modular kitchen placed at a certain height above the floor, and they provide a rubber sort of skirting which you can then remove and occasionally clean up below the modular. In this particular house, however, the modular has a very narrow bit of space and there is no way to really clean it. So I use something like this flat sweeping brush to, you know, be able to go in to a certain extent and pull out any dust and dirt that is building up there. So this is something that I also do by opening up the drawers and checking if the space beneath the drawers, that is beneath the grill of the drawers, look clean. Now we've come to the last point, and this is with regards to keeping all the products that we use to clean the kitchen themselves clean. Now this is something we tend to often overlook. I have done this mistake many times in the past, and after a point these products themselves get so dirty and you do not want to touch them and start the cleaning work. So what I do is now on a daily basis, or at least on an alternate day basis, I soak these products in a little bit of hot water with dish soap. For some products I even soak them in hot water, dish soap plus vinegar, and this ensures that the products are clean for my next day's usage. So a lot of these tips and tricks have existed for a long time, and it all comes down to a certain habit forming. I've just found that these processes help me form these habits which make the whole cleaning process easier, because I'm not someone who prefers to stand in the kitchen all day, and with the whole cooking and the cleaning process it almost feels like you don't have time for anything else besides the kitchen if you do not follow a process which helps you clean and get out of there quickly. So this is what has helped me, and I hope that you found something helpful in this video as well. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and have a great day.